one or both of your parents work for the government? Many of you? Probably not, because those people can't afford to send their children to Holton College, maybe. Okay, not exactly the most high-paying jobs, but the image or the stereotype of civil servants or government workers is that they're, you know, just the cautious, risk-averse, nerdy little people. Are you guys old enough to remember Pee Wee Herman? I think Pee Wee Herman would come to mind to some people, you know, thinking about government servants, that they're not really that competent, screw-ups a lot, not very creative, not independent thinkers, they're not autonomous, and as long as they can stay around long enough and fog a mirror, then they'll get promoted and keep gathering their paycheck. And you know, there's some truth to that, I'll grant you, but you know what? I've worked in the military, I've worked in the federal government, I've worked in several agencies of the state government, and I worked in 2 Fortune 50 companies, and I found people just like that everywhere I worked. It's, you know, the government doesn't have a monopoly on these kind of people. Now, maybe they last longer in some environments, okay, but they don't get rewarded in government that often. Sometimes they get kicked upstairs, okay, but they do in industry too. Okay, you guys know incompetent, well, maybe you don't. I keep thinking you're still, what, 18 and 19 and 20, so you haven't met these people yet. You'll find them, okay? Trust me, you'll find them. But so, government, it has the same kind of people in it that you find anywhere, okay? There's probably even, you know, some incompetent people at Holton College. Come on, okay? They're everywhere. Okay, to have, no, people have been trying for years and years, they want to reform the civil service system. We need reforms. But I think in order to have a civil service system that works the way that it was intended to work, okay, it depends on basically what the public and what the taxpayers expect and demand and require them to be. And first of all, I think that we need to have a society in which public morality breeds the desire to serve. Now here in this audience, I think that the desire to serve or the concept of service isn't foreign to you. We have missionaries' children here. We have pastors, full-time Christian workers' children here. And some of you have chosen careers of service. But I don't think that society as a whole honors the career choice of service. I think that it's often thought that people make those choices because they couldn't get what was their first choice. So they're doing this. But if they had a choice, a real choice, they wouldn't be doing these jobs. Or I think we need to have a civil society in which public morality accepts the obligation to protect society's most vulnerable through public services. Now, I'm not going to go political on you here, okay? But I do think that this big government, small government debate that we keep hearing about, I think they're asking, or they're not getting to the right question yet. Do we want big government? The Republicans want to keep slashing government, and supposedly Democrats just want to tax and spend and build a bigger government. The question is, or should be, what should government be doing? What's the job of government? And then government should be as big as it needs to be to get the job done, and to get the job done well. So when we're doing all the budget slashing, you know, and on one hand, but on the other hand, giving tax breaks, you know, I think that reflects values. that we have. We make certain assumptions about what our money will do for us or what we can make the economy do based on things. But I don't think we've gotten to the hard question and said, what's government for? And I think, okay, this might sound political. I don't mean it to be political, but I think that we want government to help us to take care of our most vulnerable citizens. I don't think that I want to abdicate that to the charities or to their own bootstraps. I think that there is a place for government to take care of the people who need taken care of. Health programs and social services. But that's a dialogue that we have to have, and we have to have consensus on it before we know how big government should be. There are some studies, there aren't very many studies, frankly, on the ethos of civil service, which was also kind of interesting to me. And I will tell you that in all my time in civil service, I have never heard it discussed. We don't talk about it. I've tried to raise the issue. Most of the people in civil service now haven't ever thought about ethos. Many don't know what it means, not because they're stupid, but just because it hasn't been in their context before. They haven't been in a context where the ethos mattered. This is the job, this is what you do. And so when you talk to them, you try to get at, you know, the core values. It's not that they're bad people, they just don't think that way. Or talk to them about our responsibility as agents of the taxpayers. They look at you like, I'm trying to get these dollars for my program. You know, it's like different, they're not trained that way. And like when you come on to be a government worker, your training, your orientation does not include, okay, training or ideas of agency or about civil service. It's the regular HR kind of training that you would get anywhere else. There's nothing special about it, which to me is just it's a oversight, I think, on their part. Attempts to reform the system, I think, are stifling rather than helping to create. I mean, a lot of, I think, good, well-intentioned people have tried to reform, but I think one of the bad things that they do is they try to make government work like a business. And government's not a business. And you can't run government the way you run a business. I mean, there are some best practices, certainly, that could be applied or adapted to government. But, for example, if in business, what's the motivation, the main motivation of a business is what? Profit, making profit. That's the reason that you're in business, and that's okay. That just doesn't happen to be a motivation for the government. Why is the government there? Well, once again, like I said, we have to answer that question. The government's there to serve the people. They're not there to make a profit. So they have different considerations, different things are going to go into their policy thinking. So